My wife handled our finances for 12 years. Then debt collectors showed up at my fire station. I owed $200,000 I never borrowed. True off my chest. I've been a firefighter for 14 years. I've pulled people from car wrecks at 3 in the morning. I've carried children out of burning houses while their parents screamed from the lawn. I've held the hands of elderly men taking their last breaths while we waited for paramedics who couldn't get there fast enough. I thought I'd seen the worst that life could throw at a person. I was wrong. 3 weeks ago, I was at the station finishing up paperwork from a call we'd run earlier that morning. Grease fire in an apartment complex, nothing major, everyone got out safe. It was a Tuesday, around 2 p.m. I remember because Tuesdays are usually quiet, and I was thinking about what I'd grill for dinner when I got home the next morning. My captain appeared in the doorway of the bunk room. He had a strange look on his face, uncomfortable, almost apologetic. That alone should have told me something was wrong. In 20 years, I'd never seen him look uncomfortable about anything. "Hey, there's 2 guys here asking for you," he said. "Suits. They're in the visitor area." I figured it was insurance adjusters or maybe someone from the city about some inspection. I walked out wiping my hands on my pants, professional smile ready. 2 men stood near the entrance. Dark suits, briefcases, expressions that were practiced neutral. The taller one stepped forward when he saw me. "Are you?" And he said my full legal name. "That's me. What can I do for you?" He handed me a folder. "We're from a collections agency representing First National Credit Union and 3 additional creditors. You're being served notice of intent to collect on outstanding debts totaling $217,000. I actually laughed. I remember that clearly. I laughed, because it had to be a mistake. "I think you've got the wrong guy. I don't have any debts like that. Our mortgage is current. We've got maybe a few thousand on a credit card. Sir, this includes a second mortgage on your property at," and he read my home address. "A personal loan from First National for $62,000. A line of credit from Capital One for $43,000. 3 additional credit cards with combined balances of..." The world started tilting. I felt my captain's hand on my shoulder, but I couldn't look at him. I was staring at the folder in my hands like it might explode. "There has to be a mistake," I said. My voice sounded strange. Far away. "I didn't take out any of these. I didn't sign anything." The shorter man spoke for the first time. His voice was almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. "Sir, we have documentation with your signature on all accounts. If you believe there's been fraud, you'll need to file a report with your local police department and contact each creditor individually. In the meantime, you are legally obligated to respond to these collection notices within 30 days. They left me standing there with a folder full of documents that had apparently been signed by me over the past 5 years. Loans I never applied for. Credit cards I never opened. A second mortgage on the house I'd worked 12 years to buy. I run into burning buildings for strangers. I couldn't see the fire in my own house. My captain didn't say anything at first. Just stood next to me while I flipped through page after page, seeing my signature, or something that looked exactly like my signature, on documents I'd never seen before. Finally, he put his hand on my shoulder again. "You need to go home," he said quietly. "Sort this out." I looked up at him, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Doubt. After 14 years of working side by side, running into hell together, he was looking at me like he didn't know who I was. "Cap, I don't know what this is." "Go home," he repeated. "Figure it out. Come back when you've got answers." I drove home in a daze. The whole way, I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Identity theft. A clerical error. Someone hacking into our accounts. My wife would know what to do. She handled all our finances. She'd been doing it since we got married 12 years ago. She was the organized one, the one who balanced checkbooks and filed taxes and made sure everything was paid on time. I just worked my shifts and trusted her. Trusted her completely. When I walked through the door at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop. She looked up, startled. I wasn't supposed to be home for another 17 hours. "What are you doing here? Is everything okay?" I put the folder on the table in front of her. I didn't say anything. I just watched her face. And I saw it. The moment of recognition. The flicker of pure terror before she got control of her expression. It lasted maybe half a second, but I'd been reading faces in crisis situations for 14 years. I know what fear looks like when someone realizes they've been caught. "What is this?" she asked, but her voice was wrong. "Too controlled. Too careful. $200,000, I said. Loans in my name. A second mortgage I didn't know about. Credit cards I never applied for. They came to the station today. Debt collectors. In front of my captain. In front of my crew. She closed her eyes. Her hands were shaking. And then she started to cry. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I was going to tell you. I was going to fix it. I just needed more time. Fix what? Tell me what? What the hell is going on? And then she told me everything. Update 1, the truth. It started 6 years ago. Online poker, of all things. She'd started playing on her phone while the kids were napping, just to pass the time. She won a few $100s her first week, and something clicked in her brain. That's how she described it, a click. Like a switch being flipped. Within 6 months, she'd moved from poker to slots to blackjack to sports betting. She had accounts on a dozen different sites. She deposited our entire savings, $18,000, and lost it all trying to win it back. That was 5 years ago. The first loan was for $10,000. She told herself she'd win it back and pay it off before I ever knew. She forged my signature on the application, used our address, our joint bank account. It was approved in days. She lost that money in a week. So she applied for another loan. And another. And then a credit card. And then the second mortgage. She was gambling while I was saving lives. Every overtime shift I worked, she was losing it faster than I could earn it. The money came in, and she gambled it. She won sometimes, just enough to convince herself she could win it all back. She'd have a good week, pay off one credit card, and then lose triple that amount the next month. The wins kept her chasing. The losses kept her desperate. She gambled while the kids were at school. She gambled during my 24-hour shifts. She gambled in the bathroom at her mother's house on Thanksgiving. She stayed up until 3 a.m. spinning slot machines on her phone while I slept beside her, exhausted from running calls. For 5 years, she maintained a perfect facade. The house was clean, the kids were happy, dinner was on the table when I got home. She smiled, she laughed, she made love to me, she told me she loved me, and then she'd slip away to the bathroom and bet another $1,000 we didn't have on the outcome of a basketball game. The gambling sites had been banned on our home Wi-Fi after she tried to stop once, so she used her phone's data. When I asked about the high phone bills, she said she'd been watching too many videos. She forged my signature over 200 times. Applications, contracts, modifications. She had a special pen she used, practiced until she could do it perfectly. She kept the documents hidden in a locked file box in the garage that I thought contained old tax returns. She intercepted the mail every single day. If a bill or statement came for one of the accounts, she grabbed it before I could see it. She set up electronic statements to a secret email address. She answered calls from creditors on her cell phone during the day and promised them payments that never came. When the creditors started calling my phone, she told me it was spam and showed me how to block the numbers. I believed her. My captain looked at me like I was a stranger. 20 years of reputation, gone in a conversation with debt collectors. I sat in my kitchen and listened to my wife of 12 years confess to committing felonies against me for half a decade, and I felt like I was watching it happen to someone else. Like I was floating somewhere above my own body, looking down at this stranger who shared my face. I have a disease, she said, sobbing. It's a disease. I couldn't stop. I tried so many times. I deleted the apps, I closed accounts, but I always went back. It's like being possessed. I wasn't myself. You forged my signature, I said. My voice was flat. Dead. 200 times. I know. I'm sick, I needed help. You stole from our children's college funds. She flinched like I'd hit her. I'd checked by then. Our accounts, the ones I thought held $23,000 for our 8-year-old and $18,000 for our 5-year-old, were empty. She'd drained them 4 months ago. I was going to put it back. I had a system, I was going to win enough to... Stop, I said. Just stop. She has a disease. Maybe she does. But diseases don't forge your husband's signature 200 times. Diseases don't lie to your face every single day for 5 years. Diseases don't steal from your children. I slept in my truck that night. I couldn't be in the same house with her. I sat in the driveway until 4 a.m., staring at the house I'd apparently given away without knowing it, and I tried to figure out how to survive this. Update 2, the reality check. The next few days were a blur of phone calls, meetings, and documents. I hired a lawyer, paid for with a cash advance from my brother, because I couldn't access credit anymore. She sat me down and walked me through exactly how bad things were. The house had a second mortgage for $93,000. We only had about $40,000 in equity left. My retirement account, the one I'd been contributing to for 14 years, was gone. All of it. $57,000. She'd cashed it out 18 months ago using forged documents. I hadn't noticed because she'd been changing the statements that came in the mail, showing fake balances. The credit cards and loans totaled $124,000, and they were all in my name. My credit score, which had been over 800, was now 412. You have options, my lawyer said carefully. She committed identity theft and forgery. Multiple felonies. If you file a police report and pursue charges, you may be able to dispute some of these debts as fraudulent. And if I do that, she'll likely face prosecution. Multiple counts of forgery, identity theft, fraud. With the amounts involved, she's looking at potential prison time. Several years, possibly. My kids don't know their college funds are empty. They don't know their mom might go to prison. How do I explain any of this? I went to see a counselor 2 days after I found out. Department policy after traumatic incidents, and this qualified. She was a retired firefighter herself, tough and practical, and she didn't sugarcoat anything. You're going to want to save her, she told me. That's what you do. That's who you are. You run into fires. You rescue people. Right now, your brain is screaming at you to rescue your wife from the consequences of her own actions. She's sick, I said. Yes. Gambling addiction is real. It's a recognized disorder. It rewires the brain's reward system. The compulsion is genuine. But, she continued, she made choices. Every time she sat down at a computer and forged your signature, she made a choice. Every time she opened that mailbox and hid a statement from you, she made a choice. Every time she lied to your face about where the money was going, she made a choice. The addiction made those choices feel necessary. It didn't erase her ability to make them. I went home that night. I'd been staying with my brother, and watched my wife through the window before I went inside. She was sitting on the couch with our kids, helping our 8-year-old with homework while our 5-year-old played with blocks on the floor. She looked tired, pale. But she was laughing at something our daughter said, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd married. I'd met her at a fundraiser for the department 16 years ago. She'd bid $300 on a date with me at a bachelor auction, money she later told me she'd had to borrow from her roommate. Our first date lasted 7 hours. I knew I was going to marry her by the end of it. We'd built a life together. A good life. 2 beautiful kids. A home. Christmas mornings and beach vacations and holding hands in the movie theater like teenagers even after a decade together. And underneath it all, she'd been stealing from me. Lying to me. Destroying everything we'd built, dollar by dollar, forged signature by forged signature. I stood in the dark outside my own house and asked myself, what kind of man am I? The kind who sends his children's mother to prison? Or the kind who lets her get away with it? Update 3. The impossible choices. I took a leave of absence from work. Family emergency, everyone understood, though I could see the questions in their eyes. The rumors had already started. One of the guys from B shift told me he'd heard I was in debt to loan sharks. Another version said I had a gambling problem myself. 14 years of exemplary service, and now the station whispered about me when I wasn't there. My wife checked herself into an outpatient treatment program for gambling addiction. 6 weeks of intensive therapy, group sessions twice a week, weekly meetings with a psychiatrist who specialized in behavioral addictions. She was on medication to help with the impulse control. She attended Gamblers Anonymous every single day. She was trying. I could see that. Whatever had been broken in her brain, she was fighting to fix it. But the wreckage remained. I spent hours on the phone with creditors, explaining the situation, trying to negotiate. Some of them were sympathetic. Most weren't. The second mortgage company threatened foreclosure. The credit card companies started calling daily. My lawyer drew up the divorce papers. I couldn't stay married to someone who had committed crimes against me for 5 years, no matter how much I still loved her. No matter how real her addiction was. You need to understand, she told me, if you divorce her and she declares bankruptcy separately, those debts in your name are still your responsibility. She has nothing. No income, no assets in her name alone. You're going to be left holding everything. I know. Have you considered pressing charges? If you can prove the forgery. I've considered it. I'd done more than consider it. I'd sat in a parking lot outside the police station for 2 hours, the folder of documents on the passenger seat, my hand on the door handle. I'd imagined walking in, filing the report, watching them arrest her. And then I'd imagine my kids, 8 and 5, watching their mother being led away in handcuffs, visiting her in prison, trying to explain to their kindergarten classmates why mommy wasn't at the school play. I couldn't do it. Maybe that makes me weak. Maybe that makes me complicit. I don't know anymore. Update 4. Telling the truth. 3 weeks after the debt collectors showed up at my station, I sat my kids down in the living room and told them that mommy and daddy were going to live in different houses now. I told them it wasn't their fault. I told them we both loved them very much. My daughter cried for an hour. My son just looked confused, then angry. He's 5. He doesn't really understand what divorce means. He just knows something is wrong, and nobody will explain it in a way that makes sense. Their mother moved to an apartment across town. Modest, 1 bedroom, she'd sleep on a pull-out couch when the kids visited. She'd gotten a part-time job at a grocery store, minimum wage, her first job in 10 years. She went to her meetings every day. She hadn't gambled in 5 weeks. I kept the house, for now. The second mortgage payment alone was more than I could afford, but I needed to give the kids some stability. I'd figure out the money somehow. My brother lent me enough to make 1 month's payment. My parents helped with the next. A guy from the station who I wasn't even particularly close to showed up one day with an envelope of cash, $3,000, collected from the crew. "We know something's going on," he said. "We don't need to know what. But you've had our backs for 14 years. Now we've got yours." I cried in my truck after he left. First time I'd cried since this started. I went back to work. Showed up for my shifts, ran my calls, acted like everything was fine. Slowly, the whispers died down. People saw me doing the job like always, and they stopped speculating. My captain pulled me aside after a rough call. House fire, elderly couple didn't make it out. We'd been too late. "You all right?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I'm here." He nodded. "That's enough for now. Some days, that's all I can give. I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm putting one foot in front of the other, even when every step feels like it's through quicksand. My credit is destroyed. I couldn't get a cell phone plan right now if I wanted to. When I tried to rent a car for a work trip, I got denied. My bank account is constantly on the edge of overdraft. The retirement I'd been building for 20 years is gone. I'm 34 years old, and I'm starting over from zero. Actually, from negative 200,000. Less than zero. Update 5. Bitter survival. It's been 8 months now. I declared bankruptcy. Chapter 7. Complete liquidation. I lost the house. The kids and I moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in a complex near the station. It's small, but it's clean, and the kids have adjusted better than I expected. Kids are resilient. More resilient than their father, maybe. My ex-wife has been sober from gambling for 7 months. She goes to meetings religiously. She's in therapy twice a week. She's working full-time now at a non-profit that helps people with addiction, answering phones and filing paperwork. She earns maybe $30,000 a year, but she donates a portion of every paycheck to a gambling addiction hotline. Says it's part of her recovery. We share custody. Week on, week off. It's strange, co-parenting with someone who destroyed your life. Standing at the door for pickups and drop-offs, making small talk about the kids' schedules while trying not to think about the 200 forged signatures. The drained retirement account. The years of lies. She's apologized more times than I can count. She writes me letters sometimes, handwritten, part of her recovery program, taking responsibility, acknowledging the harm, not asking for anything in return. Just accountability. I don't know what to do with those letters. I keep them in a drawer. I don't read them anymore, but I can't throw them away either. Here's the thing about addiction. It's real. The brain changes. The compulsion becomes almost impossible to resist. I've read the research. I've talked to the therapists. I understand, intellectually, that my wife was in the grip of something that warped her judgment and overwhelmed her impulse control. But she still made choices. Every forged signature was a choice. Every lie was a choice. Every day she watched me go to work, knowing she was going to steal from me while I was gone, that was a choice. She says she has a disease. She does. But the disease didn't hold the pen. She did. She tells me she's better now. That she'll never gamble again. That she's a different person, that the treatment has worked. Maybe that's true. I hope it is, for our children's sake. But trust doesn't come back. Not after this. Some things, once broken, can't be repaired. You can glue a vase back together, but the cracks remain. The structural integrity is gone. It might hold water, but you wouldn't fill it with anything precious. I loved her. Part of me still does. You can't spend 12 years building a life with someone and just switch that off. But I can't trust her. I can't be with her. And every time I look at my children, I see both the life we built together and the ruins she left behind. Last month, I got my first credit card since the bankruptcy. Secured, with a $500 limit. I use it to buy gas and pay it off immediately. Slowly, painfully, I'm rebuilding. Next year, I'll start contributing to a new retirement account. $40 a paycheck, all I can afford. At this rate, I'll be able to retire when I'm 90. My daughter asked me last week why we don't live in our old house anymore. I told her things change sometimes, and we have to adapt. She accepted that. She's 8, she doesn't need the truth yet. Someday, when she's older, I'll tell her what happened. Not to poison her against her mother, but because she deserves to understand why her father starts over at 34 with nothing. Because she deserves to know about the disease that runs in families, the warning signs, the need for help when things spiral out of control. But not yet. For now, she just knows that Daddy is tired a lot, and Mommy lives somewhere else, and things are different now. She adapts. Kids adapt. They're better at it than we are. Final thoughts. There's no justice in this story. I want to be clear about that. My wife committed crimes against me for 5 years. Identity theft. Forgery. Fraud. If I had pressed charges, she would have gone to prison. She would have deserved to go to prison. I didn't press charges. I made that choice for my children, not for her. Maybe it was the right choice. Maybe it was wrong. I don't know anymore. She's sober now. She's getting help. She's trying to be a good mother to our kids. And I'm here, bankrupt, divorced, living in a 2-bedroom apartment with a $500 credit limit and a retirement account that starts from zero at 34. I run into burning buildings for strangers. I couldn't see the fire in my own house. That's the part that haunts me. Not the money. Money can be earned again. Not even the betrayal. I'm learning to live with that. It's the blindness. The complete failure to see what was happening right in front of me. My wife spent 5 years lying to my face, and I never suspected. Not once. Every time she said, "I love you," every time she talked about our future, every time she smiled at me across the dinner table, she was hiding this. And I saw nothing. What does that say about me? About my judgment? About my ability to read the people closest to me? I trusted her completely. That trust wasn't naive. It was built on years of love, partnership, shared experiences. We'd been through hard times before. We'd supported each other. We'd built something real. And underneath it all, there was this. I'm working on forgiving myself for not knowing. The therapist says that's important, not blaming myself for someone else's deception. But it's hard. I'm a firefighter. Reading situations, assessing danger, protecting people, that's my job. And I failed at it in my own home. So here I am, 34 years old, divorced, bankrupt, living in an apartment that smells like the neighbor's cooking, rebuilding a life that should have been solid. But my kids are healthy. My ex-wife is sober. I'm still showing up for my shifts, still doing the work that matters. It's not justice. There's no satisfying ending where the person who hurt me faces consequences and I'm made whole. But it's survival. And right now, that's enough. Some days, that's all there is. You keep going. You put one foot in front of the other. You show up for your kids, show up for your crew, show up for the next person who needs help. And you carry the weight. You don't put it down, because you can't. You just learn to walk with it. That's where I am. Walking with it. Edit. Thank you for all the support and messages. I can't respond to everyone, but I'm reading them. To those dealing with a spouse's gambling addiction, please don't wait until debt collectors show up at your work. Check your credit reports. Look at the accounts. Ask the hard questions now. And to those in recovery from gambling addiction, I see you. I know it's real. I know it's hard. Get help before you destroy someone who loves you. I wish my wife had asked for help 5 years ago. We might still have a marriage. We might still have a home. Our kids might still have their college funds. But she didn't. And now we're all learning to live with what's left. Here's what I learned from losing everything to someone I trusted completely. You can love someone and still be destroyed by them. I run into burning buildings for strangers. I couldn't see the fire in my own house. For 5 years, my wife forged my signature. 200 times. Loans, credit cards, a second mortgage I didn't know existed. She drained my retirement, $57,000 I'd saved for 14 years. She emptied our kids' college funds. She did it all while I worked overtime trying to build us a better future. She was gambling while I was saving lives. Every overtime shift I worked, she was losing it faster than I could earn it. Debt collectors showed up at my fire station. In front of my captain. In front of my crew. My captain looked at me like I was a stranger. 20 years of reputation, gone in a conversation with two men in suits. She says she has a disease. Maybe she does. Gambling addiction is real. The brain changes. The compulsion becomes almost impossible to resist. I've read the research. I understand, intellectually, that she was in the grip of something that warped her judgment. But diseases don't forge your husband's signature 200 times. Diseases don't intercept the mail every single day for 5 years. Diseases don't look you in the eye and say, "I love you," while stealing everything you've built. My kids don't know their college funds are empty. They don't know their mom might have gone to prison. I didn't press charges. I made that choice for my children, not for her. Maybe that makes me weak. Maybe that makes me complicit. I don't know anymore. I declared bankruptcy. Lost the house. Moved to a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm 34 years old with a $500 credit limit and a retirement account starting from zero. She's sober now. 7 months. Goes to meetings every day. Works at a non-profit helping people with addiction. She writes me letters taking responsibility. I keep them in a drawer. I don't read them, but I can't throw them away. Trust doesn't come back. Not after this. You can glue a vase back together, but the cracks remain. It might hold water, but you wouldn't fill it with anything precious. There's no justice in this story. She committed crimes against me for 5 years. She faced no legal consequences. I faced all of them. But my kids are healthy. My ex-wife is sober. I'm still showing up for my shifts. It's not justice. It's survival. And right now, that's enough. Some days you just keep going. Put one foot in front of the other. Show up for your kids. Show up for your crew. And you carry the weight. You don't put it down, because you can't. You just learn to walk with it.